Welcome to Intellicide, where we discuss who killed intelligence and murdered common sense. I'm your
Where the
co-host,
mind
Anthony
is the
Gentry.
ultimate weapon.
Right. And my other co-host is Kyle Palmerville. And today we're going to discuss how the government is deporting some students and citizens and some other topics concerning the current Trump presidency and chaos that has ensued.
Our post-rule of law era.
Right. So you had a topic that you wanted to talk about concerning a young lady that had cancer and she had to leave with her family.
Well, yeah, I mean, we were talking about the deportations that are going on, and one of the stories was about there was a 10-year-old girl who was from Mexico who she was actually a U.S. citizen, but her family
Hmm.
was from Mexico, but she was coming to the U.S. to receive treatment for brain cancer. And she had been using basically a medical visa, her family had been, to get into the United States.
Right.
And as of February, the Trump administration suddenly decided that that wasn't enough and they were just going to revoke it. And they just deported them all, including the girl, even though
Right.
she's a U.S. citizen,
Right.
and denied her the brain cancer treatment. She's no longer able to get it.
And this goes against or countered any of the arguments that they made or any of their supporters made pre-election that, oh, we're only going to deport the bad people or, those bad actors. And I don't understand how a 10-year-old girl who came here for medical reasons could be even, slightly construed to be in that crowd. Um, is sickening, is how I feel about it.
Well, it's especially sickening coming from the same people who claim they hold up their Christianity
Right.
and wave it in people's faces to show their supposed morality, but then they turn around and they do things like this
Right.
in policy, and they do things like Elon Musk, literally the richest man in the world, stealing food from the mouths of the poorest children in the world.
Right. Yep. Yeah, I mean it is. The story that I really wanted to talk about was the university student Mahmood
Mahmood
Khalil.
Khalil,
Yeah.
yeah,
And
he was a legal citizen here with a green card,
with a green card,
and they
right.
just decided to revoke it for no reason. He
Well,
hasn't been even accused of a crime. He
right.
hasn't been, let alone convicted.
Right.
Now, in the past, the standard was if someone was convicted of a crime, they could seek to revoke someone's green card. But like he hasn't
Right.
even been convicted or accused of a crime. They just
Right.
didn't like what he was saying in the protests.
Well, and let's make it clear
And they always
that
claim it's about only about illegal immigration, but it's not.
no,
This proves it's
it's
not.
obvious it's not about illegal immigration. This man was not here illegally. This
No.
man was here attending a university,
Hmm.
even though it was on a green card. He was here legally doing that.
Yeah.
Now you can say, okay, well he protested. That to me, that's more of a university issue. If the university says, okay, we're going to
It's a
kick you
First
out of,
Amendment issue.
huh?
He has a First Amendment right to protest.
No, I agree with you. I'm just saying that if they wanted to go that route, that, hey, the university had more, to me, a say of how they were going to deal with a student that, conducted a protest on their campus, than the US government coming in and sticking their foot in there. They're making a point because they don't want anyone to speak out against them. They literally want to make
Yeah.
protesting a terroristic action.
Yeah.
Now, I don't care what side of the fence you sit on to even think that that could be possible. That hey, you protest anything that we disagree with or you disagree with us, that's a terroristic move. And we know after 9/11 and the Patriot Act and everything, what that could leave you liable to. It's sickening.
Well, yeah, it is. The whole thing is, and the real one of the dangers is that the normalization of this kind of power grab. Like if the
Right.
Supreme Court lets him get away with it, because
Hmm.
the um his administration has asked the Supreme Court, what is it, yesterday, to allow his executive order rescinding birthright citizenship, which
Correct.
is it's in the 14th Amendment of the Constitution.
Yeah,
So
it's a constitutional amendment.
if he can end something that's in the Constitution by a mere executive order,
Right.
the Constitution doesn't mean anything.
Right. Oh, well, listen. Say what you want to. Let a president try to repeal the Second Amendment via an executive order. We'd have chaos. So, but
Yeah,
hey, I don't want illegal aliens, and I want the right people to be over here or this and that. You're okay with that? Don't
right,
don't don't give me any spiel about, you're for the Constitution. Like you
right.
said, it's a constitutional right. If you want it ratified, go the
Well,
route of ratifying
here's the
a
thing
new amendment.
here's the thing that if they end if being born here doesn't make you a citizen,
Mhm.
what does?
Oh, if
How are you or I still citizens if that no longer is the standard? If just being born here, if they could just come and say, you know what, we're going to revoke that birth certificate because we don't like
yeah.
what you're saying.
Well, right. You have to think like us. You have to talk like us. You have to believe like us. You have to look
Hmm.
like us.
Yeah. Have you ever seen
So
A Handmaid's Tale?
I've watched the episode here and there. I haven't watched, and been faithful to the whole series. No.
Yeah, I've seen clips of it too. I haven't watched the whole thing, but I gotta say, like, I'm thinking about watching it. The part of the problem with it is right now that watching some of these dystopian shows hits a little too close to home right now.
Oh, right. And the fact that anything this dystopian or despotic could apply to the United States of America
Yeah,
is crazy. I
yeah.
mean
Well,
that's something that you'd have someone writing a book about the current times, and someone 50 years ago would say that's science fiction.
well, it would be, but it's also frighteningly accurate. Like if you look at
Right.
Aldous Huxley's Brave New World or, any of these, it's, frighteningly accurate today.
Right. Yeah. I mean, if you care about the foundation of this country, if you say that, hey, I'm a patriot, or I believe in the Constitution and this and that, I don't understand how you can not have a problem with what's going on today. Now, again, you can have a difference of opinion on certain matters. Some people believe that the federal government is just full of crooks. Everything is pork, fraudulent spending. And I'm not going to be a defender and say that there's not waste going on. I believe that there's always waste and fraud because we're people. We are flawed ourselves. So we have the capacity to commit those actions. But
Yeah.
I just find it funny that individuals that profess to believe in a certain fundamental things just look at what's going on now, and you say, okay, but because the guy that I voted for or the guy that I believe in is doing it, it's
Hmm.
okay. Then
Right.
right, you don't stand on principle. You stand on what you like. You stand on, hey, how I feel about it. And that's not right. As a parent, and I'm sure that you face things like this. Sometimes you have to discipline a child. You don't feel good about it, but in order to instill a certain moral code and teach them, hey, I got to do this, even though I don't like it, I know you don't like it, I have to do this. And that's what we should be doing here. We should be looking at some of these actions and saying it's unacceptable. You cannot
Mm.
do this, Mr. President. You're an executive. You're one part, one third of the fundamental government structure. You're not the entirety of the government structure.
I agree with everything you just said. The cynic in me for a second is going to say that honestly, the thing that I'm seeing, and we've joked about it before, part of the whole reason we started this podcast.
Hmm.
We live in an idiocracy. Is like the thing that astounds me that the thing I didn't understand until I became an adult and even later in adulthood was I had severely overestimated the intelligence of the general public.
Hmm.
And I think a lot of that, and I didn't understand the difference that it made in my life that I was always an avid reader and I was always interested in the news and I used to really enjoy debating politics with people, used to, until I had this realization because uh, it is a realization that, people, the general public is a lot easier to manipulate than I had believed, than I'd wanted to believe.
Hmm.
Um, so I think that's part of what we're seeing, and there's a lot of people who just don't understand how the system works. They don't understand. This is, as the meme says, this is the result of 50 years of having football coaches teach civics
Right.
in school because all these people that don't understand how things work, the fact that there are supposed to be three co-equal branches,
Right.
and that the president isn't a king. But all these people, like to your point, the general consensus that I'm hearing from people, even in my life, that support this stuff, are that, well, you know what? I'm okay with a king as long as he's of my party, as long as he's a
Right.
Republican and he believes what I believe, or he says he believes what I believe.
Right.
If he makes the right promises, then they're okay with him being king.
Yeah, then you don't believe in a king. Then you no, you don't believe in that institution.
Of a king,
Yeah, if you're saying he has to think like me, and as long as
right?
I support him, as long as he thinks like me, believes in the things that I believe in, then that right, you don't believe in a king. You basically believe in a puppet head.
Well, they would
A
like to think
figurehead.
that he would be, but I mean that's the whole thing. It's the cynic is that's how he gets power is by making promises that he never
Right.
intended to keep. And so they give him the power, thinking that, not realizing the power was theirs to begin with, and they
Right.
gave it away
Hmm.
because he
It,
made promises. And once
it
you give that away, it's really hard to get back.
so last weekend I had to take my bishop to a speaking engagement, and he posed a question
Mm.
to me.
It's the one that got took out by that rook. Sorry.
No, not that kind of bishop.
Oh,
But he posed a question. So if you come to a four-way intersection and the lights out, what do you think makes people, sit there and you go, then I go, what do you think makes that work?
yeah, it does reduce the whole situation to a very basic primal thing, right? Like fairness, like the idea of just taking turns.
Right. And I think most people like right. It that's what we are taught. That's what, most people would think is fair. Hey, that guy goes, he was here first. Okay, then this guy goes, then that guy turn, and every occasionally you'll see like, two people go at once,
Right.
like one,
Yeah,
two.
you do. You do. You see
And
that one person who thinks like, I don't want to wait.
right. And
Yeah.
for a slight second, you're like, man, like, you're messing it up. And
Hmm.
and it's that instinct or whatever. When you're a person that believes in morality and you believe in right and wrong and what's fair,
Hmm.
that's what we're seeing, the destruction of that. We
Hmm.
have, it's eroded. And when that happens, it's going to get bad. You think it's bad now. Imagine when morality is no longer a thing where, hey, as long as my guy thinks the way that I think, that's not morality.
Right. Yeah.
So, we can go down this rabbit hole
Well,
all
I
day.
mean, but we live in an age, though. Again, this gets back to the idiocracy thing, where you get Christians complaining to priests that the teachings of Jesus are woke, and that they don't want to, they don't want to attend his church anymore because, the things he was saying during his sermon were woke and they didn't like it. Well, he was quoting Jesus, you
Hmm.
know, but
Hmm.
they didn't like that, because that's the where culturally where it is. That's the culture war aspect of,
Hmm.
the, the world we live in today, that there is, like you said, it's what George Washington warned us about. It's people are loyal to their party before the country,
Hmm.
and their party to them has become like their culture, their identity. Like they see themselves as that image that's portrayed to them through conservative media of like
Hmm.
what is an American and who they are. Like they're this patriot and they love their country and whatever. Um, and so just support whatever we're doing. And so it's
Right.
like it's a team mentality. It's literally like, my team and I support them no matter what they do. I support the 49ers no matter how much they cheat or whatever, to the it because it does. It becomes like this, it's my team and I support them no matter what kind of thing. But the
Right.
team isn't the country. The team is their political party.
Right.
And that's the whole thing that, we've talked about this before, that the system we live in was never designed for political parties. And
Right.
loyalty to a party is destructive to this system.
Yes, sir.
Because the whole thing, like you said, it's supposed to be three co-equal branches competing for the power. And as soon as those three branches start colluding along political parties,
Right.
that's like a short circuit in a system.
Hmm.
Like the whole thing breaks down and stops working
Right. Yeah,
because the
because
power structure is no longer flowing the way it was intended.
listen, it's been a while since I've had a civics course, but there's supposed to be checks and balances on each other.
Between the
But
branches, right? That's the
yeah,
whole thing. Yeah,
right,
they're supposed to check each other.
right,
But if they're all just going, oh, well, he's a Republican, so he can do whatever he wants,
right. I mean, come on, man.
the whole system. But that's where we are. That's exactly what's been happening since,
Right.
since Reagan. Honestly, since Nixon. I think a lot of it is that ever since Nixon resigned, a lot of Republicans became very bitter about it. And they were like, you know
Uh,
what? That should never happen again. We should
uh,
have rallied around him and protected
Listen,
him. And
Republicans voted for Nixon's impeachment.
I know because there was
Right.
enough people back then who believed in the country over the
Right.
party.
I mean, like, listen, I I understand that there may be those individuals that are doing it based on party and hey, this is our guy.
Hmm.
But again, if you believe in right and wrong, if you have anything that supersedes party, and honestly, I don't understand how anybody puts party and then morality up under that.
Oh, it's
Then
amazing. Well, no, but it's funny because so I had these conversations with friends of mine online who are like profess to be Christian, but they're right-wing MAGA supporters.
Mhm.
But they have conflated in their minds, um, they have a religious belief. They literally tell me they have faith in Donald Trump.
Mhm.
Right? So, like, it's literally taking a religious belief and putting it in a political figure. And so anything he does now is a test of your faith. So that's the whole thing. Like, morality's out the window, right? Like, so you are now, what's his name? Was it Job or no, the guy who God told him to kill his son? As a
Abraham.
test. It's like, but that's where they are. Oh, well, it's just a test of my faith, right? Like, oh,
Mhm.
well, he wants me to murder a child. Oh, well, but it's just a test of my faith. That makes it okay. That's how morality gets subverted by faith. That's what happens when people and people think that morality comes from their faith, comes from religion. That is subverting morality. If you can't admit that you knew right and wrong before you knew religion, like you're not understanding it. That's the whole thing. You understood right and wrong when
Well,
you were a child,
yeah, I you
you
know, I
know?
I believe that morality comes from God.
Okay, but
So,
here's the thing.
yeah,
But no, but that's the thing, right? Like there is, if you believe morality comes from a religious figure,
you're
right?
right. No,
Then the
listen,
church
let's
suddenly becomes the source of your morality, and
no,
that's how you get
Kyle. Let,
religion
let,
and
let,
morality. And
God
religion
is
it
not a
becomes replaceable,
God
right?
is not
People
a
can believe in
religion.
different religions,
God
so
is not a
that you can
religion.
replace that.
God is not a religious figure. We have made God a religious figure.
Hmm.
That's all I want to say. That God or whatever. I believe that God created the universe. God existed before there was a religion. So let's make a distinction there. You know.
Hmm.
So that's what I believe. Now I'm not saying that I'm right. That's just what I believe. And
Right.
and I hear what you're saying, and I agree on a lot of what you're saying.
Yeah.
What I
Well,
believe is that these MAGA supporters have created an idol out of Donald Trump.
yeah,
And if you
absolutely.
look at the Bible,
Literally, quite literally, it's that.
idolatry is wrong. So,
Unless it's
again,
your idol.
he's not my idol.
No, no, but I would say that to them, they're like, oh, but it's not wrong because he's God, or he's
No,
inspired
he's
by
not
God, or
God.
he's,
Man, listen, I wish a Trump supporter would tell me that Donald Trump was God. Who who is your religious father? Like please point me in his direction so I can have a discussion with him.
yeah. It's amazing the degree to which, so to me, it's funny because I grew up Catholic, but I kind of, um, I would say I'm more of a deist as I'm older. I kind of like I have faith that there is a higher power and that it created the universe and everything. But I am more the older I get, the more convinced I am that the dogma of every organized religion is wrong.
Mm.
And that whatever really is going on is something, we literally by virtue of being limited beings can't fathom. So it's more of like, a great mystery that gets revealed when you pass away because you end up,
Mm.
energy can't be created or destroyed. It simply changes form. So when someone dies, they obviously go somewhere. But the dogma is where people start to say, like, oh, well, they go to this heaven and this is what heaven is like, and
Well,
this is who's
again,
here and this is who's allowed
we
in.
are
Not.
flawed.
It's like,
We as individuals are so flawed.
hmm.
And right, when we bring our own thinking into it and our own behaviors, then right, we can mess up anything. I mean,
Yeah.
I think that's obvious. We can have a perfectly working system, car, device, anything. And because oh well, I can make it better.
Hmm.
I can do this. Now, I'm not saying that humans can't do incredible things. We have done incredible things.
Hmm.
But let's be perfectly clear. This world that we inhabit, I mean, without our intervention, you know, pollution, um, the ecosystem,
Yeah.
global warming. I mean, it's just so many things. Like we did that. We
Right.
we this earth is fine to be able to sustain itself for millions, billion, like a long time.
Right.
And yet we have messed it up to the point where, man, I don't know where my next meal is coming from. Will I eat it? Is carcinogenic? Is poison in
Right.
it? You know,
Right.
don't take it's just like those drug commercials that you see.
Well, you
Hey,
know,
you got migraines, take this drug, but it can cause bleeding ulcers, diarrhea, vomiting, and
mhm.
occasional death. What?
So I have come to subscribe to I've kind of boiled it down to a rather simplistic belief, right? That there's really two kinds of people. You either believe that business and the economy exist to serve society and mankind and to provide help people provide and share resources,
Mhm.
or you believe that humans exist only to serve business, to serve as fuel and fodder for corporate overlords,
Mhm.
right? And that's the two approaches. Like we were talking before about the movie Network
Right.
and the Ned Beatty speech, you have meddled with primal forces. You believe that's someone who believes that humans exist to serve that engine,
Mhm.
right? That is the natural order, that money is a natural order. Personally, if I had been in that scene, I'd be like, money's made up, right?
Yeah.
Like
But
money's we made money up. It's It's not a natural thing. You can't go dig a vein of dollars.
Well, I'll say this, and I don't care how rich or powerful someone is, there's always going to be the masses that don't have, that are hungry, that are starving, that are scraping by. They're always going to outnumber the rich and the
Mhm.
haves. At what point have you oppressed? You have, scraped every dollar, out of those individuals
Hmm.
before they say enough is enough. And you can look at the history of humankind and find many examples where those masses have, you know, raised up, risen up, and have overthrown those systems.
Yeah.
So and I'm not saying that I don't believe that people can be rich, that they can't do well or they can't do better than someone else, but there's a fine line in between me making a profit and me now exploiting situations and people, etc., so I can squeeze every bit of dollar
Right.
or
And that's where
profit.
I think that it's that basic belief, right? Like if you're a business owner and you believe that business exists to serve society,
Mhm.
then you understand why paying your employees a living wage is
Right.
a priority and why it should actually take priority, that shareholders are not the only concern.
Yep.
And that's really, I think, the kind of the cancers, the where the fulcrum of the cancer started is when people started thinking that the only thing that matters is shareholders and that everything else
Right. Oh
doesn't
yeah.
matter.
Yeah.
As soon as that happened,
I agree with
everything
you.
else went to crap because it's like
Yeah.
suddenly the environment, the workers, safety, all of that doesn't
Hmm.
matter anymore.
Right.
And that's that philosophy. If you believe that humans exist only to serve business, then that makes sense because
Hmm.
those aren't really concerns. Human rights, safety, all that's not a concern
Hmm.
if the humans are only fuel. If
Right.
humans only exist, okay. Um, but yeah, and that again, it goes to, there are people who can profess religion as their motivation for stuff. And if you claim that religion is the source of morality, then that makes anybody hiding behind religion able to claim morality, that they are moral, even though what they're doing is so obviously and profoundly immoral.
Well, and like I said,
And
I
that's where, I
believe that.
mean, I do believe that like there is like the creator and the deism side of me says that yes, I mean, from a fundamental standpoint, all morality and the whole universe was obviously created by whatever the creator was, but religion is more of a man-made thing. It's man's kind attempt to
Organized religion
understand
is a
that.
man-made thing. I agree with you on that.
Yeah,
I'm just saying that if you believe in an almighty, he preceded organized religion.
technically, but yeah, the thing that the people who fall for this stuff for whatever reason, there are people who like to think for themselves and reason this out and debate this stuff even. And there are people who just want to be told, hey, this is what's right, this is what's wrong. Go do this.
Right.
They just don't want to think about it or whatever. I don't know. But there seem to be a lot of those
Right.
people.
Right, right. Well, hey, listen, we didn't even get to talk about, the resistance movement,
You're right.
Chuck Schumer and the CR vote and all that other stuff. Maybe we'll get to that next time. But
Okay.
hey, folks, I hope you enjoyed this episode. Please hit like and subscribe if you enjoyed any of this content, and please, shoot us an email or something, a comment, letting us know what you would like to see in the future. So this is Anthony Gentry and Kyle Palmerville signing out, and we hope to see you again on another episode of Intellicide.